we've got earnings from Salesforce coming out right now. The company's fourth quarter earnings per share coming out 2 pennies above what analysts had been anticipating. It looks like fourth quarter revenue a little bit ahead of estimates as well, but not by much. $9.29 billion versus the $9.22 billion that analysts had estimated. Also, it looks like the company's first quarter revenue forecast, the midpoint of that is below estimates. $9.12 to $9.17 billion is what Salesforce sees in the first quarter for revenue. 9.16 billion is what analysts had been anticipating. And as far as I can see as well, the full year revenue forecast for its fiscal 2025 is below estimates as well. Salesforce expects as most $38 billion in revenue. $38.62 billion is what analysts had been anticipating. That said, the earnings per share forecasts are better than estimated for the first quarter and for all of 2025. So let me summarize, because that was a lot of numbers, I realize. I think the bottom line here is that the revenue forecasts for the first quarter and full year are short of estimates. Earnings forecasts are above estimates, which reflects here the cutting that we have seen, the pullback that we have seen happen for Salesforce. But I'll be really interested to see what the sales forecast, Josh, indicates about demand here. I'm sure that we'll be getting some questions on the call about demand. You know, is this a company that is trying to cut its way, or is successfully cutting its way to beating estimates at the same time that demand is flagging?
Yeah, I do see another interesting data point. In 2025, their adjusted operating margin forecast of about 32.5%. That's already a touch higher than at least some of the estimates I was seeing on the street. But listen, the stock is down about 6% in the after hours. Obviously, this is another name that had this tremendous run into this print. It was up about 80% over the past 12 months. But I think you're right. Obviously, a lot of immediate questions about the forecast, the guidance. What does CEO Mark Benioff kind of see in that general environment for enterprise demand right now, Julie? That'll be a big focus on the call. Remember, they also did raise prices. That'll be another question on the call. What kind of impact is that having on Benioff's business? And of course, adoption demand for the company's so-called Einstein AI platform as well.
A couple of other interesting and important things I should note here. The company is starting its first ever quarterly dividend. That's going to be 40 cents a share. It is also increasing its share buyback authorization by $10 billion. Those are very interesting, especially given the fact that we are not seeing a more positive reaction in the stock here today. A bit surprising, perhaps. I don't know what the expectations were for the numbers for the dividend and for the buyback here, but that's something that Mark Benioff highlights in the statement here. He also, of course, calls out the Einstein One platform, which is Salesforce's AI-related product here that it has been coming out with updates on. But again, going to be some questions on the call about demand. And something else to mention is that Salesforce had been under some activist pressure. So all of this at play when we're talking about the company. You also in the past have pointed out how well the stock has done.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind as well as we look at this reaction, which really does seem to be tied to that sales forecast.